A struggling nurse sang to her comatose patient every night. She didn't know he was a billionaire. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. A struggling nurse sang to her comatose patient every night she didn't know he was a billionaire. Imagine being a nurse working night shifts in a hospital. Every night, you care for patients, and sometimes you wonder if they can hear you, if they feel anything at all. Anna Monroe had been a nurse for 2 years. Her routine was exhausting, always on the go, tending to the needs of others, but never really having time for herself. She was struggling to make ends meet. Bills piled up, student loans loomed over her, and she could barely pay rent for her small apartment. But she loved her job, and even though it drained her, she found a sense of fulfillment in caring for people. One particular patient had caught her attention, Grant Carter, a young billionaire who had been in a coma for nearly a year after a terrible car crash. She had been assigned to care for him when no one else wanted to. He had been in a coma for so long that some of the medical staff had grown indifferent to his condition. But Anna? She saw him as a person, not just a case. Every night, after finishing her rounds, Anna would sit by his bed and talk to him. Sometimes she would sing, a soft lullaby, hoping somehow that he could hear her. She didn't expect any response. But she couldn't shake the feeling that he was somehow still there, listening. She would talk about her day, her struggles, and the things that brought her joy. She would tell him about her dreams of becoming a nurse practitioner and the life she hoped to build, though it felt so far away. Each night, she would leave the room, wishing she could have done more, feeling like her efforts were falling short. But she never stopped caring. Anna's life had become a series of late-night shifts, and each shift she would find herself back in that sterile room, talking to the silent man in the bed, hoping that one day, just maybe, he would wake up and hear her. As the days passed, Anna started to notice small changes. His vitals were improving, his heartbeat more stable. But she didn't dare get her hopes up after all. She had seen patients in worse conditions linger for years without any improvement. One night, as she was humming a soft tune, something strange happened. Grant's hand twitched. It was slight, but it was enough to make Anna freeze. She stared at him, heart pounding, unsure of what to make of it. Was it just a reflex? Or was he truly waking up? She gently took his hand in hers, feeling the warmth of his skin. And then, as if responding to her touch, his fingers curled around hers, just slightly. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Could it be? Was Grant Carter finally waking up? She stood there for a moment, frozen, her heart racing. She knew this could be the moment she had been waiting for, the moment she had been hoping for every time she sang to him. But she also knew better than to get ahead of herself. She had to call the doctor, and that's when she realized this was no ordinary patient. This man, lying in front of her, was not just a patient in need of care. He was Grant Carter, the billionaire. The man whose name was known across the world. The man who had everything, money, power, success, but who had somehow ended up in a hospital bed, just like anyone else. She didn't know it yet, but this moment would change everything for both of them. Grant Carter wasn't just a billionaire who had been in a coma. He was someone who would awaken to a new life, and Anna was going to be a part of it. I'm so glad you're still with us. Before we continue with the story, please remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another heartwarming story like this one. It's quick, free, and it's the best way to support our channel. We appreciate every bit of love from you. Now, let's get back to Anna and Grant. When Anna noticed Grant's hand twitch, it was as if time itself had slowed down. She stared at him, disbelief and excitement mixing in her chest. This was the moment she had been waiting for, but she wasn't sure how to react. Was it a sign that he was waking up? Or was it just a fluke, a mere muscle spasm? Her heart raced as she continued holding his hand. It was warm. That was a good sign, right? She could feel a slight pressure as he squeezed her hand ever so gently. A shiver ran down her spine. She quickly checked his vitals. His heart rate had increased, and his oxygen levels were more stable. That was all good news, but it was still so uncertain. She wasn't sure if she should call the doctor just yet. Anna's mind was racing with 1,000 thoughts. She had been caring for this man for so long, and all she could do was hope that one day he would wake up. She had come to care for him in a way that was beyond the role of a nurse. He wasn't just another patient to her. He had become a part of her life, even though he had no idea who she was. Every night, when she sang to him, she did it with a sense of hope, a sense of connection. She always felt like there was something more between them, something unspoken, a bond that went beyond the medical charts and procedures. She had no idea who Grant Carter really was. To her, he was just a man lying in a bed, fighting for his life. But as she stared at him now, she realized there was so much more to him than she had ever known. His family rarely visited, and the hospital staff didn't seem to care much about him anymore. He was just another wealthy businessman who had fallen out of the public eye. But Anna could feel it. There was something different about him. And now, as she held his hand, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. She quickly ran to the nurse's station and asked for the doctor to be called. The nurse on duty looked at her, surprised. "Are you sure? He's been unresponsive for so long." Anna nodded. "I'm sure." He moved his hand. "I think he's waking up." The nurse hesitated for a moment, but then she picked up the phone and dialed for the doctor. A few minutes later, Dr. Harris arrived. He looked at Grant, then at Anna, his eyes narrowing slightly. "What happened?" he asked. "I was just singing to him, like usual, and then I felt his hand move. He squeezed my hand." Anna's voice was trembling with excitement. "Doctor." Harris walked over to Grant's bedside and checked his vitals. He looked at Anna, then back at the monitor. "This is unexpected. We'll have to do a full evaluation, but this is definitely a good sign." Anna could hardly believe it. She had been so used to Grant's stillness, so accustomed to the silence in the room, that she had almost forgotten what it felt like to hope. But now, she felt like everything was possible. The thought of him waking up, of finally getting to know the man behind the billionaire status, made her heart race. Over the next few days, Grant's condition began to improve at a pace that no one had expected. He slowly started to respond to Anna's voice, his eyes flickering open just a little bit at a time. Each small movement felt like a victory. Anna couldn't help but feel a sense of pride, knowing that she had been a part of this miracle. As the days passed, Anna spent more and more time with Grant. She didn't just care for him physically, she talked to him, told him about her life, her hopes, her dreams. She couldn't help but feel a connection to him, even though he was still mostly unconscious. And then, one day, it happened. Grant opened his eyes. It wasn't fully, but just enough for Anna to know that he was aware of her presence. Her heart skipped a beat. "Grant?" she whispered softly, not wanting to startle him. His eyes blinked slowly, and then, for the first time in what felt like forever, he looked at her. He didn't speak, but his gaze was clear. He was awake. It was a moment Anna had been waiting for, but it felt so surreal. She couldn't believe it. This man, this billionaire who had been nothing more than a name to her, who had once seemed so distant and unreachable, was finally awake. And he was looking at her. In that moment, she realized something. She wasn't just his nurse anymore. She had become a part of his life, and now she had no idea where this journey would take them. Would he remember her? Would he know how much she had cared for him all this time? Anna had no answers, but she knew one thing for sure. Things were about to change. I'm so glad you're still with us. Before we dive into the next chapter of this incredible story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another amazing story like this one. It's quick, it's free, and it's the best way to support our channel in bringing you more heartwarming content. Now, let's get back to Anna and Grant. As Grant's eyes fluttered open, Anna couldn't believe it. She had spent so many sleepless nights wondering if this day would ever come, and now, here it was. She stared at him, her heart pounding in her chest as he blinked slowly, trying to focus on her face. It felt like time was standing still. "Grant?" she whispered again, her voice trembling. His eyes shifted, focusing on her. For a moment, There was silence, just the steady beep of the heart monitor and the soft rustling of the hospital sheets. Then, ever so slowly, his lips parted. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice hoarse, as if he hadn't used it in ages. Anna's breath caught in her throat. It wasn't a surprise he had been in a coma for nearly a year, and he probably had no memory of what happened before. But hearing him speak, hearing his voice after so many months of silence, was overwhelming. She swallowed hard, trying to keep her composure. "I'm Anna," she said softly, her hand still holding his. "I've been taking care of you. I've been here for you. Every night." Grant's eyes narrowed slightly as if trying to piece together the puzzle of his memory. "Taking care of me?" he repeated, still not fully comprehending. Anna nodded. "Yes. You've been in a coma. I've been here every night, talking to you, singing to you." She paused, her voice softening. "I know it sounds strange, but I believe you could hear me." There was a long pause as Grant processed her words. Then, a faint flicker of recognition seemed to pass through his eyes. "I remember your voice," he murmured, his gaze drifting to the ceiling as if searching his memories. "I remember hearing you sing." Anna's heart skipped a beat. He remembered her voice. That was something. That was a connection. "I didn't know who you were," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I couldn't stop talking to you, couldn't stop hoping you would wake up." Grant turned his head slightly, looking at her more intently now. "You're a nurse?" he asked. "Yes," Anna replied, her heart fluttering in her chest. "I'm a nurse. I've been working here for a long time. It's not an easy job, but it's what I love." Grant's brow furrowed as if he was trying to understand everything that had happened during his long period of unconsciousness. "And I've been asleep?" he asked, sounding almost disoriented. "Yes," Anna said, gently squeezing his hand. "You were in a coma for nearly a year. We weren't sure if you'd wake up, but—" She trailed off, not sure how to put it into words. "But now you're awake, and I'm here. You're not alone anymore." For a moment, there was silence again. Anna wasn't sure what else to say. She wanted to explain everything, to tell him all the things she had been keeping inside, all the feelings she had developed for him while he lay there unconscious. But she didn't know if it was the right time, or if he was even ready for that. The last thing she wanted was to overwhelm him. Slowly, Grant's eyes shifted back to her. "I don't know how to thank you," he said quietly. "You've been here for me all this time, and I don't even know your last name." Anna smiled softly, shaking her head. "You don't need to thank me. It's my job. It's what I do." But deep down, she knew it was more than that. She had spent countless nights talking to him, singing to him, hoping against hope that he could hear her. And now, here he was, awake, talking to her, looking at her as if he was seeing her for the first time. Anna felt a strange mix of emotions. Relief, joy, and something else, a feeling she couldn't quite put into words. She had always known that Grant was different, but now she was beginning to realize just how much he had changed her life, even in his coma. There was something about him that she couldn't ignore. And now that he was awake, she wondered what would happen next. Would he remember who he was? Would he remember the life he had before the accident? And what about her? Where did she fit into his story? Grant's gaze softened as he looked at her again. "Anna, I don't know what the future holds," he said slowly, "but I want you to know that I'm grateful for everything you've done for me, for being here." Anna smiled, her heart swelling. "I'm just glad you're awake," she said, her voice quiet but sincere. "That's all I ever wanted." As the days passed, Grant's recovery was slow but steady. He began to regain strength, both physically and mentally. He started to ask questions about his life, about the accident that had put him in a coma. Anna was there every step of the way, helping him relearn the basics, making sure he was comfortable, and providing the emotional support he needed. The more time they spent together, the more Anna began to see a side of Grant that she hadn't expected. He wasn't just the billionaire CEO everyone talked about. He was kind, vulnerable, and, at times, even shy. He appreciated the little things like the way Anna would bring him his favorite coffee or how she would talk to him about her dreams and her life outside the hospital. It was during these moments that Anna realized something. She had started to care for him, not just as a nurse, but as a person. Someone who had become an important part of her life. and she couldn't help but wonder, could there be something more between them? I'm so glad you're still with us. Before we continue with today's story, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest videos. Your support means so much to us, and it helps us bring you more incredible stories. Now, let's continue the journey with Anna and Grant. Over the next few weeks, Anna and Grant spent more and more time together. As Grant recovered, he began to remember more details about his life before the accident. He would ask Anna about the world outside the hospital, about the things that had changed while he was asleep. Anna was always there to help him piece together the life he had lost. Slowly, they began to develop a deeper bond. Anna found herself drawn to him in ways she hadn't expected. There was something about the way Grant listened to her, the way he asked questions with genuine curiosity, the way he would smile softly when she told him stories about her life. He wasn't just the billionaire CEO everyone had talked about before. He was a man with dreams, with vulnerabilities, with a heart that had been hidden behind the walls of his wealth and status. And slowly, those walls started to come down. One afternoon, as the two of them sat in the hospital garden, enjoying the warm spring sun, Grant turned to Anna, his expression serious but gentle. "Anna," he began, his voice soft, "I need to thank you again for everything you've done. You've been more than just my nurse. You've been my friend, my support, and I don't know how to repay you for that." Anna smiled, trying to hide the way her heart fluttered at his words. She had been expecting a thank you at some point, but hearing it from him, hearing him express his gratitude so openly, made her feel something she couldn't ignore. "You don't need to thank me, Grant," she said, her voice steady but warm. "I was just doing my job. You're awake now, and that's all that matters to me." But as soon as she said it, she realized it wasn't entirely true. She had been doing her job, yes, but there was so much more to it. She had cared for him in ways that went beyond professional duty. She had cared for him with her heart, and that was something she couldn't deny. Grant seemed to sense the unspoken words between them. He leaned in slightly, his eyes searching hers. "I don't think you realize just how much you mean to me, Anna," he said quietly. "When I was unconscious, I could hear your voice, and it gave me hope. It kept me fighting to wake up, to find my way back." Anna felt a lump form in her throat. She hadn't realized how deeply her words had impacted him. "I never thought I could make a difference like that," she whispered, her voice almost breaking. "I just wanted to help." Grant reached out and gently took her hand, his fingers warm against her skin. "You did more than help," he said, his voice sincere. "You saved me." The air between them felt charged, like something was shifting, something that neither of them had expected but both could feel. Anna tried to pull her hand away, feeling a rush of emotions that she wasn't ready to confront, but Grant held it firmly, not letting go. "Grant," she said softly, looking down at their joined hands, "I don't know what this means, but I can't pretend that I haven't started to feel something more for you." Grant's thumb gently brushed the back of her hand, sending a shiver up her spine. "I feel the same way, Anna," he said, his voice low and full of emotion. "I've never felt like this before, not with anyone. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I want you in it." Anna's heart skipped a beat. It wasn't just the gratitude anymore, the bond that had formed between them during his recovery. It was something deeper, something more real. She had spent so many nights singing to him, talking to him, sharing parts of herself that she hadn't shared with anyone in years. And now, here they were, standing on the edge of something neither of them had planned. She looked up at him, her eyes meeting his, and for the first time in a long while, she felt truly seen. "What if it's too soon?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if we're just caught up in the moment?" Grant smiled softly, a hint of tenderness in his expression. "Maybe we are," he said, "but I don't think that changes what I feel. I want to explore this, Anna. I want to see where it could go." Anna took a deep breath, letting his words wash over her. She had never been one to rush into anything, especially something as important as love. But as she looked into his eyes, she realized that this wasn't something she could ignore, no matter how complicated it might be. She nodded slowly, her heart swelling with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. "Okay," she said quietly. "Let's see where this goes." From that moment on, their connection deepened. As Grant continued his recovery, Anna was by his side every step of the way. They shared quiet moments in the hospital garden, long conversations about their dreams and their fears, and laughter that came easily when they were together. They weren't just nurse and patient anymore. They were two people discovering something beautiful, something real. Anna had never imagined that this would be her life, that the man she had been caring for, the man who had been lying unconscious for so long, would become someone so important to her. But as each day passed, she knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter for both of them, one that was full of possibilities. I'm so glad you're still with us. Before we continue with today's story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on our new content. It's quick, free, and helps us bring you more amazing stories. Now, let's jump back into Anna and Grant's journey. As days passed, Anna and Grant's relationship blossomed in ways neither of them had expected. It was still early, and they were both cautious, unsure of where this connection would take them. But the bond they had formed during his recovery was undeniable. Grant had always been a man of control, someone who had built an empire with his own hands. But in these quiet moments with Anna, he was reminded of a different kind of strength, one that came from vulnerability and trust. Anna, on the other hand, was someone who had spent her life caring for others, but she had never allowed herself to be truly cared for. Until now. One evening, as Anna was leaving the hospital after a long shift, Grant surprised her by showing up at the front entrance. His sleek black car was parked outside, and he stood by it, waiting for her with a nervous smile on his face. "Grant?" Anna asked, her heart skipping a beat as she walked toward him. "What are you doing here?" Grant took a deep breath before answering. "I wanted to take you out to dinner," he said, his voice a little more unsure than usual. "I know you've been working hard, and I thought maybe we could spend some time together outside of the hospital." Anna felt a surge of warmth in her chest at his gesture. She had never imagined Grant, someone with so much power and wealth, would take the time to think of her in this way. It was a simple thing, but it meant the world to her. She smiled softly, her eyes meeting his. "I'd like that," she said, her voice quiet but sincere. They drove to a cozy restaurant on the outskirts of the city, a place that wasn't too flashy, but had a certain charm. It was the kind of place where people could have real conversations, where the lights were dim and the food felt like comfort. As they sat down, the conversation flowed easily. They talked about everything and nothing about their childhoods, their dreams, the things they loved and hated. It was the kind of night where they both felt like they could be themselves without any pressure. And for the first time, Anna realized just how much she had missed out on by keeping herself emotionally distant from others. It wasn't just about Grant. This connection, this ability to truly open up and share a part of herself, was something she had been craving for a long time. As the night wore on, they talked less and just enjoyed the presence of each other. Grant reached across the table, gently taking Anna's hand in his. "I know this is all new," he said softly, his voice full of emotion. "But I don't want to rush things, Anna. I just want to be with you, take it one step at a time, and see where this goes." Anna looked at him, her heart racing, as she felt the weight of his words. She knew what he meant. Neither of them was rushing into anything. They were simply allowing themselves to feel what they felt and see where their connection would lead. She nodded, squeezing his hand. "I'm not rushing either," she said quietly. "But I can't deny that what we have is something real, and I want to see where it takes us, too." For the first time in months, Anna allowed herself to let go of the doubts and fears that had been holding her back. She had spent so much of her life putting others' needs before her own, and now, for the first time, she was beginning to put herself first. And Grant was a part of that. The next few weeks felt like a dream. Anna and Grant spent more time together, both inside and outside the hospital. There were quiet mornings in the garden, sharing breakfast while the sun slowly rose. There were late nights, talking about everything from their past to their future, opening up in ways neither of them had with anyone else. As Grant's recovery continued, he grew stronger, more confident, and more determined to regain control of his life. But he also found himself becoming more and more drawn to Anna, not just for the way she had taken care of him, but for the person she was. The more he learned about her, the more he admired her strength, her kindness, and her unwavering dedication to the people she cared about. But Anna, too, found herself changing. Grant had brought out a side of her that she had buried for so long, the part of her that believed in love, in trust, and in the possibility of something more. She was beginning to see the world through different eyes, not just as a nurse, but as a woman who deserved to be loved and cherished. One afternoon, as they were walking through the hospital's courtyard, Grant stopped suddenly and turned to Anna. "I know this is fast, and maybe I'm being impulsive," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "but I can't ignore what I feel. Anna, I want you in my life. I want to build a future with you." Anna's heart skipped a beat, and she looked at him, unsure of what to say. This was the moment she had been waiting for, but she had no idea how to respond. She had never imagined that this would be her life, that the man she had been caring for, the man who had been lying unconscious for so long, would become someone so important to her. But as she looked into his eyes, she realized that this wasn't just about recovery or gratitude, it was about something much deeper. "I want that too, Grant," she whispered, her voice full of emotion. "I'm ready to take that step with you." And just like that, their worlds collided, and they knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together, hand in hand. I'm so glad you're still here with us. Before we continue, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of these incredible stories. It's quick, free, and it helps us bring more content like this your way. Now, let's continue Anna and Grant's journey. It had been a few weeks since Anna and Grant made the decision to explore where their connection could go, and things were changing faster than either of them could have imagined. As Grant's recovery progressed, his presence in Anna's life became more and more significant. The man who had once been just a patient, someone she had cared for and hoped for, was now someone who filled her days with new emotions, new possibilities, and a sense of excitement she hadn't known in years. Grant, for his part, was starting to realize just how much Anna had become a part of his life. Her kindness, her laughter, the way she was always there when he needed her, it all seemed so simple, yet so rare. He was a man who had everything: money, success, power, but the one thing he had never really understood was love. Until now. One afternoon, as they sat together in the hospital garden, the air warm with the scent of fresh flowers, Grant looked over at Anna, his expression thoughtful. "Anna," he began, his voice serious but gentle, "there's something I've been wanting to ask you." Anna turned to face him, her heart picking up its pace. "What is it?" she asked softly. Grant hesitated for a moment, as if choosing his words carefully. "I know this might seem sudden," he said, his eyes searching hers, "but I want you to be a part of my life fully, not just as my nurse, or as someone who helped me recover. I want you to be with me. I want to see what we can build together." Anna's breath caught in her throat, her heart swelling at his words. She had been waiting for him to say something like this, but hearing him actually say it made it feel real. She looked at him, her eyes softening. "Grant," she whispered, "I already feel like I'm a part of your life." She paused, her voice trembling slightly. "But yes, I want that too. I want to see where this can go, what we can become together." Grant smiled, his eyes filled with warmth. "I'm glad," he said, squeezing her hand gently. "I know we've both been through a lot, but I think we deserve a chance at something real." And with that, something shifted between them. The air felt lighter, the weight of uncertainty lifting, as they both embraced the possibility of a future together. In the weeks that followed, Anna and Grant continued to grow closer, finding themselves in new and unexpected ways. They shared quiet dinners together, long walks in the hospital gardens, and even weekend trips to nearby parks where they could escape from the pressures of their daily lives. Their connection, once rooted in the simple care Anna had given him as a nurse, was now blossoming into something deeper, something neither of them had anticipated. But as their relationship deepened, the reality of Grant's world began to catch up with them. One evening, as they were having dinner at a small, quiet restaurant outside the city, Grant's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, his face darkening as he picked up the call. Anna watched him closely, sensing the tension in his body. After a brief conversation, Grant hung up the phone and sighed deeply. "What's wrong?" Anna asked, her voice full of concern. Grant looked at her, his face troubled. "It's business," he said, rubbing his temples. "There are always things I have to deal with, people expecting things, companies wanting my attention. It never stops." Anna reached across the table, gently taking his hand. "You don't have to carry that weight alone," she said softly. I'm here for you, Grant. Whatever you need. He looked at her, his eyes filled with gratitude. I know you are, he said quietly. And that's one of the reasons I'm so grateful for you. You make everything seem simpler. Even when everything else feels complicated. Anna smiled, feeling the warmth of his words settle deep within her. That's what I'm here for, she replied, squeezing his hand. To help you find balance, just like you helped me find mine. It was in moments like these that Anna realized just how much she had changed over the past few months. She had gone from being a nurse caring for a stranger to being a woman who was deeply involved in a life she never expected. A life that included Grant, someone who had shown her what it meant to be seen, to be understood, and to be loved. But even as their bond grew stronger, Anna knew there would be challenges ahead. Grant's world was still full of expectations, of obligations that she couldn't fully understand. She had always been someone who put others first, who worked hard to make sure everyone else was taken care of. But now, she was learning to put herself first, to allow herself to love and be loved in return. And with Grant by her side, she was beginning to believe that it was possible for them to find a way to make it work, despite all the obstacles they might face. They spent the next few days together, exploring more of the world outside the hospital. They visited art galleries, attended a charity gala, and even went hiking in the mountains, taking their time to enjoy the simple moments and building a relationship grounded in trust and love. As they stood on the mountaintop one afternoon, looking out over the vast expanse of land below them, Anna turned to Grant with a smile. This is everything I've ever wanted, she said softly. To be with someone who makes me feel alive, who makes me feel like I'm worth something more. Grant looked down at her, his eyes soft and full of affection. You're worth everything to me, Anna, he said quietly. And I will never take that for granted. And in that moment, Anna knew that this was just the beginning of a beautiful journey. Together, they were going to face whatever came their way, hand in hand, and create a life they both deserved. I'm so glad you're still with us. Before we dive into the next chapter of Anna and Grant's story, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our new videos. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's continue with Anna and Grant's journey. It had been a few weeks since Anna and Grant had opened up to each other, exploring what could lie ahead for them. They had shared quiet moments, deep conversations, and a growing understanding of the life they wanted to build together. But no relationship is without its challenges, and as the days passed, they were about to face a situation neither of them had anticipated. One afternoon, while Grant was at home resting, Anna received a phone call that would change everything. It was from an old friend, a colleague who had worked with her during her early years as a nurse. Anna, we need to talk, her friend said, her voice tinged with urgency. There's something going on with Grant's business, something serious. I think it's time you know the truth. Anna's heart skipped a beat as she listened. What do you mean? She asked, her voice shaky. What truth? Grant's company is in financial trouble, her friend explained. There are legal issues, debts, and investors breathing down his neck. It's worse than he's letting on. He's been hiding it from you, trying to protect you from the stress. Anna stood frozen in place, the weight of her friend's words sinking in. She had known that Grant was a businessman, that his life was full of pressures she could never fully understand. But she hadn't expected this. She hadn't expected to learn that the man she had come to care for deeply was struggling so much behind the scenes. Why didn't he tell me? Anna whispered. More to herself than to her friend. He didn't want you to worry, her friend replied gently. But Anna, this is serious. If things don't change soon, he could lose everything: his company, his reputation, his wealth. Anna's mind was racing. She knew Grant had been through a lot, but this was a whole new level of stress, a whole new set of challenges. And now, she had to decide what to do with this knowledge. Should she confront Grant, demand the truth from him? Or should she stay out of it, trusting that he would come to her when he was ready? As the days went by, Anna's internal conflict grew. She watched Grant carefully, noticing the subtle signs of stress that he had been hiding: his sleepless nights, his distracted conversations, the weight of his thoughts that seemed to be pulling him further away. She couldn't ignore it any longer. One evening, as they sat together on the couch, Anna decided it was time to talk. Grant, she said, her voice soft but steady. "There's something I need to ask you." Grant looked up from his phone, his eyes meeting hers. "What is it?" he asked, his voice calm but his gaze wary. Anna hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I know you've been going through a lot lately, and I can see the stress you've been carrying. But I need to know the truth. Is your business really in trouble?" Grant's face tightened at her words. For a moment, he said nothing, his expression unreadable. Then, with a deep sigh, he put down his phone and turned toward her. "Anna," he began, his voice heavy with emotion, "I didn't want to tell you. I didn't want to burden you with all of this. I thought I could fix it on my own. But you deserve to know." He paused, running a hand through his hair. "My company is struggling. There are legal battles, financial issues, and a lot of things I can't control. I've been trying to keep it together, but I'm not sure how much longer I can manage it." Anna's heart ached as she listened to him. She had known there was something wrong, but hearing it from him, seeing the weight of it in his eyes, made it all the more real. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I thought I could protect you," Grant said quietly. "I thought if I kept it from you, I could spare you the pain. I didn't want to drag you into this mess." Anna's eyes softened as she reached out to take his hand. "Grant, I'm here for you," she said gently. "You don't have to go through this alone. Whatever happens, we'll face it together." Grant looked at her, his eyes filled with gratitude and something deeper, a realization that he wasn't alone anymore, that he didn't have to hide his struggles. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice full of emotion. "I don't deserve you." Anna smiled, squeezing his hand. "You don't have to deserve anything, Grant. We're in this together. You don't have to carry it all on your own." For the first time in weeks, Anna saw a glimmer of relief in Grant's eyes. It wasn't the kind of relief that came from solving a problem or finding an immediate solution, but the kind that came from knowing that he didn't have to face the darkness alone. They didn't have all the answers, and the road ahead was uncertain, but in that moment, they made a silent promise to each other. They would face whatever came next, side by side. As they sat together in the quiet of the evening, Anna couldn't help but feel a sense of hope despite the storm that was brewing around them. She had no idea what the future would hold, but she knew that they were strong enough to handle it, together. I'm so glad you're still with us. Before we continue with the story, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest content. It's quick, free, and helps us continue to bring you amazing stories. Now, let's dive back into Anna and Grant's journey. The following days were filled with tension, but also a growing sense of unity. Grant, now that he had opened up about his struggles, felt a weight lifted off his shoulders, but the pressure of his business situation was far from over. Anna was by his side, offering not just support, but also practical advice as they worked through possible solutions. She knew there was only so much she could do, but the act of standing beside him, encouraging him to face the challenges head-on, was something she could give freely. However, the reality of the situation was impossible to ignore. The financial issues, legal battles, and mounting pressure from investors made every day a challenge. Anna watched Grant's every move, his sleepless nights, his moments of frustration, and the way his shoulders sagged when he thought no one was looking. It was clear that despite his success, he felt the burden of not only his business but the fear of losing everything he had built. One evening, after another stressful day, Anna found herself in the hospital lobby, waiting for Grant to arrive. He had been working late at the office, trying to find a solution, and Anna could feel the exhaustion radiating from him even before he walked in. She stood up and walked towards him, her heart aching at the sight of his weary face. "Grant," she said softly, her voice full of concern. "You need to rest. You can't keep pushing yourself like this." He gave her a tight smile, but there was no masking the weariness in his eyes. "I know, Anna, but I don't know what else to do. If I don't fix this, everything could fall apart." Anna took his hand in hers, guiding him to a nearby bench. "We'll figure it out together," she said, her voice firm but gentle. "But you can't do it alone. You've been carrying this weight for so long, and I'm right here. We'll find a way, but you need to take care of yourself first." Grant sighed deeply, his shoulders slumping as he allowed himself to relax for the first time in days. "I don't deserve you," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. Anna shook her head, her grip on his hand tightening. "You don't have to deserve me, Grant. I'm here because I want to be. We're in this together, no matter what." He looked at her, the exhaustion still there but now softened by a sense of comfort. "I don't know what I would have done without you," he said quietly. "You've given me hope when I had none. I don't know how to repay you for that." Anna smiled softly, her heart swelling with emotion. "You don't have to repay me, Grant. What we have, this connection, this bond, is enough." For the first time in weeks, Anna saw a flicker of hope in his eyes. It was subtle, but it was there. She had reminded him that he wasn't alone, that no matter how bad things seemed, they could find a way forward together. The days that followed were still difficult. Grant's company was facing serious challenges, and every decision seemed more pressing than the last. The weight of it all hung over him like a cloud. But now, instead of facing it alone, he had Anna by his side, helping him carry it. Together, they sought legal counsel, restructured parts of his business, and worked tirelessly to keep the company afloat. It wasn't easy, and there were moments of doubt, but through it all, Anna never wavered. She was there for him, supporting him not just as his partner, but as someone who believed in him even when he couldn't believe in himself. One evening, after a particularly long day of meetings and negotiations, Grant took Anna out for dinner. It was a small, quiet restaurant with a warm ambiance, a welcome change from the chaos of the office. They sat across from each other, the flickering candlelight casting soft shadows on their faces. For a moment, the weight of the world seemed to lift, and all that mattered was the quiet connection they shared. "Anna," Grant said quietly, his voice filled with gratitude, "I've been so focused on everything going wrong that I forgot to appreciate what's going right. I have you, and that's everything." Anna smiled, her heart full as she reached across the table to take his hand. "You don't need to fix everything right away, Grant," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "We're in this together, and that's all that matters." Grant nodded, his eyes meeting hers with a depth of emotion she had never seen before. "I don't know what the future holds, but I know that with you, I can face anything," he said softly. "You've taught me what it means to truly live, to truly be present. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm not just existing, I'm living." Anna felt her heart swell at his words. It was as if the struggles they had faced together had only made them stronger, not just as individuals, but as a couple. And though the road ahead was uncertain, she knew one thing for sure. Together, they could overcome anything. As the evening came to a close, Grant took Anna's hand and walked her back to the car. The night air was cool, and the stars shone brightly above them, a symbol of the hope they both carried in their hearts. They didn't know what the future held, but they knew they would face it together. And that, Anna realized, was more than enough. "I'm so glad you're still with us." Before we wrap up today's story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of these amazing stories. Your support helps us bring you more content like this. Now, let's dive into the final chapter of Anna and Grant's journey. As the days passed, Grant's company began to slowly stabilize. With Anna by his side, helping him navigate the chaos and giving him the emotional support he so desperately needed, things started to turn around. The pressure was still there, but now there was a sense of control, a sense of hope. He wasn't fighting alone anymore. One evening, after a successful board meeting where they had made significant progress on the legal issues, Grant and Anna walked out of the building together. The weight that had been hanging over them for so long seemed to lift, just a little. The air was crisp and clear, and for the first time in what felt like ages, they both breathed a little easier. As they walked side by side, Grant turned to Anna, his eyes filled with gratitude and something more, a deep affection that had grown over the weeks they had spent together. "Anna," he began, his voice soft but filled with emotion, "I can't express how much you've changed my life. I was so focused on everything that could go wrong that I forgot to appreciate what was right in front of me. You've been my anchor through all of this, and I can't thank you enough for that." Anna looked at him, her heart swelling with warmth. "You don't have to thank me, Grant," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "I'm here because I want to be. You've always been someone I admired, but now, seeing you fight through this, it's made me fall for you even more." Grant smiled, his eyes lighting up at her words. "I didn't realize what I was missing until I met you," I've had everything: wealth, power, success, but none of that mattered until you came into my life. You showed me what it means to truly live, to truly feel." They walked a little further in silence, both lost in their thoughts. The past few months had been a whirlwind, but in this moment, everything felt right. They had faced so many challenges, but now there was nothing but a future full of possibility. As they reached the car, Grant turned to Anna, taking both of her hands in his. "I don't know what the future holds," he said, his voice steady, "but I know that I want to face it with you by my side. I want to build something real, something lasting, with you." Anna felt tears well up in her eyes. She had always been afraid of letting someone in, of opening her heart completely. But with Grant, it felt like the right time. "I want that too, Grant," she whispered, her voice full of emotion. "I'm ready for whatever comes next, as long as I'm with you." And in that moment, they both knew that their journey was just beginning. They weren't perfect, and they knew that life would continue to throw obstacles their way. But they also knew that together, they could face anything. As Grant drove Anna home that night, the city lights glowing in the distance, they talked about their future, about the plans they had, the dreams they shared, and the life they wanted to build together. There were still uncertainties, but there was no longer any doubt in their hearts. They were in this together. The next few months passed in a blur of new beginnings. Anna continued her work as a nurse, but now, with Grant by her side, she felt a sense of fulfillment that went beyond her career. She had found love, and more than that, she had found a partnership that gave her strength. Grant, on the other hand, worked hard to rebuild his company, making sure that everything was set on the right path. But no matter how busy he got, he always made time for Anna. They took trips together, spent quiet evenings at home, and shared their hopes and fears for the future. One afternoon, as they were enjoying a lazy weekend in the park, Grant turned to Anna, his eyes filled with a mixture of love and determination. "I want to do something special," he said, his voice full of sincerity. "Anna, will you marry me?" Anna's heart skipped a beat. She had known that this moment was coming, but hearing those words, seeing the look in Grant's eyes, took her by surprise. Tears welled in her eyes as she nodded, unable to speak for a moment. "Yes," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "Yes, I will marry you." Grant smiled, pulling her into a warm embrace, his heart full of joy. In that moment, they both knew that they had found something rare, something worth holding on to. Their love story wasn't perfect,